Hi, everyone. My name is Smriti P, and I am a mentor with Magic and also a software engineer at Google. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing the mentee mentor pair of Reece and Ria. We'll start off with some introductions. Reece, can you get us started?
Hi, my name is Reese. I'm currently a sophomore at Castalia High School. Um, and yeah, that's me.
Ria?
Hi, I'm Ria. I'm a senior at MIT, and I also went to Castalia, the same school as Reese, for high school.
Awesome. And what are you studying or majoring in at MIT?
I'm studying computer science and minoring in mechanical engineering, and I spent this past summer interning at Tesla on their robotics team.
Very cool. So for the people watching this trio has a special connection that we all went to Castalia here and there. I was class of 2014, and I also went to MIT like Ria. So that is our special connection for this trio. But Reece and Ria, congratulations on making it to this day. We have the final presentation later, and I actually peeked a little bit through the slides, and I know that. It's about what the project that you worked on, Reece, is something related to books, libraries, vocabulary, and it's a web app. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
I came about the idea kind of when I was reading um, these books because I never used to be a reader, but then I started reading more over quarantine, and I realized that there's like a huge gap between the amount of new words that a person reads when they're reading a book and the amount of words that they actually retain after they finished reading said book. And whenever I used to ask like my mom or something what a word meant, she would be just like, look it up, but then I'd always forget what it meant. And so I wanted to like create some sort of application or site where you could store these words per book so you could like look back and see the words that you gained in your vocabulary that you've added to your lexicon, which is where the name came from, but while reading a book. And then that's basically how the idea like came about, and then just developing it and figuring out how to do that.
Wow, that's really cool. I love that, the idea of vocab that you're learning in the context of a book, because you can learn so many random words and not remember where they came from, but that association probably helps in remembering the words. So how did you decide to kind of build this with a web app, like the technologies that you learned?
Well, I figured that a web app would probably be would probably be the simplest way to get it started. And then I didn't really know where to start, but then Ria and I were kind of talking, and we figured that using like Python as the back end program, because eventually it would need to send requests to figure out like the definitions and stuff for words. And so we then used Python to build the app. And then I was a little bit familiar with HTML and a little bit of CSS. And so using that to like style the site, um, that was just a natural progression.
Nice. Ria, did you have any experience building a web app and web pages before?
No, this was all new for me, so I do have experience with Python, but that was kind of the extent of it. I hadn't used Flask before. I'd done a little bit of HTML, but not much. So, in a way, we were learning together. But I think we had, yeah, it worked out. It was
Yeah,
good
that's
for me
always,
to learn something new.
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that's almost, it's always really nice to be learning as a mentor and mentee together and see how you learn and kind of get ideas as a mentee from your mentor of like the resources that are out there. And then as a mentor from your mentee, like keeping it real and learning new things that the young ones have learned since we've been in school. That's awesome. Reece, what was your most enjoyable or your favorite part of building up this web app, and maybe what's something that surprised you that you weren't expecting?
Okay, so probably the most enjoyable part of it was when there were common bugs and we fixed them. Specifically at the beginning, it was kind of I had to like download Python and Flask and figure out all of that, and that was probably like one of the most time consuming parts of it, and that process had a lot of like smaller issues in them. And then when we finally got that to work, it was like, oh my gosh, thank you, because after that point, like, I knew how to run the program it's myself, and like I could check bugs more easily by myself, after we got over that initial hump. And then the most, what was the other question?
Surprise, something that maybe surprised you, that you weren't expecting as you were developing.
Okay, so something that surprised me was definitely how logical Python was, because um, I never really realized it, but like this coding language in particular, like almost all coding languages, they're really like they're easier to understand than they are to recreate. And so something that surprised me was once like I would like ask Ria a question on how to like explain what this code did, but then after that I kind of started catching on to some parts and like understanding how to like manipulate the code and everything like that. And that was really surprising to me, like how quickly it is to catch on to Python in particular, because it's so logical in how it's written.
Yeah, that's awesome. Python, I know you said you had some experience in CSS and things like that before. Python was also the first language that I learned. That's very cool. What do you think, as you've been working on this for some time, I know you'll have like future things you want to work on with this project lexicon. But I'm wondering kind of, what do you have any inspiration for things you want to do next, or any other ideas?
With this project in particular, or just in general?
Just in general, yeah.
Hmm. Well, I'm not I'm not really sure yet. I feel like whenever something arises, having like the toolkit to create a solution is really important. Um, but I don't know. Probably just like as I go through life, figuring out what little things my like experience in this program could help me with. Um, but with this like app in particular, like there's definitely some things I want to work on in the future, and they're outlined in my presentation as well. But particularly like developing it to what I currently see as like the app in my ideal setup, where you have like more of a study function, and developing the section where you add vocabulary, because we got to the point where you add new books, but we haven't gotten to the add no, new vocabulary section. But so with that project, this project in particular, developing that. But with other projects, it's probably just figuring out as it comes along, so I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, well, I really like what you said about the toolkit. Now that you've kind of gone through it and you've understood how to guide yourself through a project, with Ria's mentorship, now you have that toolkit for things that will come, next in life for you that you might want to tackle. So, kind of a similar question for you, Ria, thinking about the future. I know you're not a first time mentor, and hopefully you'll return to the program to mentor again. What is something that you've learned from this experience mentoring Reece that you want to take with you into your next mentorship?
So I think just in terms of technical skills, I think I'm more comfortable with web apps now, and I think that's a really great place to start with coding projects, because you get to work on kind of the back end stuff, which I think Python is a great option for, and then is the styling and the sort of fun front end stuff. So I think that's a great like first mentorship project. That's one thing. And then I think Reese just asked really great questions. So that helped me as a mentor really like think about how I answer, how I teach things, how I explain code. And I think that helped me develop as a mentor a lot. And I really appreciated that throughout the whole summer.
That's great. And then to wrap us up, Reece, do you have any advice for future mentees?
Probably don't hesitate to like look things up and ask questions, because you have these resources, you should use them. And if you're ever confused, just like try and take a deep breath and try and like slow down, and don't get frustrated. Just try and like go through the process again. But yeah, probably like use your resources to the best of your ability. Ask questions, ask for help. Don't hesitate to look things up. And Rhea and I were saying like in our one of our last meetings that like Google's probably your biggest resource. Always use it. Don't hesitate. So probably does. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Well, that just about, hits us on time for the interview, and I know you have the presentation coming up next, so good luck for that and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.